Lubna. She's of course the lecturer, political science lecturer at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Now, at this time, we've passed the halfway mark on this momentous day. Polls will close 9 o'clock tonight. But if you're still in the queue at 9, of course, you'll still be allowed to cast your vote. Dr. Lubna Nadvi, good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us here on eNCA, DSTV channel 43. Can I begin with you? I also have another analyst with me, a young lady by the name of Miss Mapaseka Murwa, who's been very patiently waiting for over an hour here in our Hyde Park studios. But I'm going to start with you, and the same question will come to you, Mapaseka, when it's your turn. Voter turnout. Dr. Nadvi, we are told that in this particular local government election, voter turnout is going to play a critical role. By 12:30, according to the IEC, 3.5 million voters had already cast their ballots. That's a good sign, or is it too early to call?
Hi, good afternoon, and good afternoon to your viewers. I think that, yes, voter turnout is absolutely critical because it reflects on the credibility of the elections. You need to have, the sort of masses, or at least the majority of your electorate coming out and actually casting their ballot for the elections to have credibility. And of course, we've seen over the number of years that we've had both national and local government elections that the voter turnout has fluctuated. And this, of course, reflects on what is actually going on in the country at any given time. But I think that 3.5 million, at a midway point is not bad. But of course, I think that there might actually be a real sort of rush to the polls perhaps late in the day. It is also a public holiday, and perhaps people are still slowly making their way to their polling stations. But we should have a majority of the electorate to come out in order for the people's voices to be reflected.
What number, what percentage would that look like, Dr. Nadvi?
Well, it's always good to have at least 2/3 of your electorate. So, 60% and above would be wonderful. But we've seen that in the past, it's sort of gone just below 50%, below 60%, or just slightly up. But I think at least 2/3 of the sort of registered voters is a good estimation, or a good number to have.
Yeah, I mean, compared to national elections, somehow local government elections are not viewed to be as sexy enough and as, important enough, but they are significant, judging by the amount of service delivery, protests and challenges our country has today. So you would agree with the sentiment that is going around now, that please go and make your mark for your community, because this is where it counts the most in terms of how democracy comes alive.
Absolutely, because at local government level, democracy is closest to you. It is about the basic needs, lights, water, refuse removal, and so on. And, of course, there's been a lot of disillusionment that has been expressed by the voters with, of course, the major parties. But in this election, because we have seen that there's more than 320 odd parties that are contesting, there are options that are available. So I think that instead of not going to cast your vote or spoiling your ballot, or whatever form of protest people may want to engage in, it's best to actually go and cast your vote and elect somebody in that you think would be able to deliver to you. So this election really is about making sure that you do bring into office somebody that can deliver. And if it's not someone that, has been sort of doing well so in the past, there are many options that are available to the electorate.
Yeah, I had the former President Thabo Mbeki, after he cast his vote in a Houghton area of Johannesburg earlier today, saying that when he was voting, he's hoping that the vote will go to honest people, or people who will take over into the new council will be honest people. That whole issue of integrity of candidates, I mean, will come to the fore, particularly because we know we're beset with corruption. And even during the COVID-19 pandemic, we've seen such acts of corruption.
Absolutely. I mean, you need to have, candidates that are credible, that are going to deliver, and that are not tainted by, acts of criminality or corruption. So clearly, the president is expressing this idea that they're going to be doing things differently, that the ANC has gone out to actually basically look for candidates that are credible in his view. But of course, people are very disillusioned. But at local government level, the extent of corruption that we've seen is just unbelievable. So I think that really the voters will have to really, make some difficult choices. But, as former President Mbeki said, I mean, the idea is to get someone who's honest. And it's only if they've been tried and tested in office that you would know that they're honest. And if you're electing somebody new, you haven't tried and tested them. So only time will tell how honest and how credible they are in office.
Yeah, and from where you're sitting, Dr. Nadvi, I need to ask you this, looking at how the IEC is conducting itself so far, how quickly they've acted. For example, in eThekwini Metro, the police are now investigating where there was a report of a presiding officer who allegedly was stashing boxes in terms of ballot box and stuff. But they moved very quickly. The person has been arrested. The investigation is now with the police. I mean, how they're conducting themselves at this stage, do you think augurs well, I mean, for the outcome? I'm asking this against the background of the pandemic as well, because this is a first for us.
No, absolutely. The IEC has to be seen to be actually dealing with any irregularities or any corruption that seems to be emerging in the voting process. So it's very good that they have dealt with this issue of the stuffing of, ballots into ballot boxes, and the person has been arrested. Of course, KZN has also been highlighted as a hotspot, and there are a lot of police and security personnel around many of the voting stations. So, given that there are these incidences happening in KZN, it's good that the IEC and the authorities are seen to be acting very quickly. Otherwise, if these things are not managed, then violence can break out, and we really don't need that. So it's good, and of course the IEC officials have been reporting regularly throughout the day on the incidences that have emerged and how they have been responding to it.
Yeah, that communication is important. Thank you very much, Dr. Lubna Nadvi, lecturer of political science at the University of KwaZulu-Natal.